Okay, you should be all set. I'm gonna hop off. If when I leave in the top left-hand corner, if for some reason it stops saying that we're live on YouTube, Tom, just send me a text and I can pop back on and address it.
Okay, very good.
Okay, have a good webinar, y'all. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
So it's just 7:01. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes to see if any more folks pop on, and then we'll get started.
Okay, no problem.
Gentlemen, how's it going?
Hi,
Good, Mayor. How are you?
Very good. Good evening.
good evening.
Looks like we have fulsome participation this evening. That's great.
Okay, we're just going to wait a couple minutes to see if we get some last-minute stragglers in, and then I'll turn it over to Rich. We'll get started.
Sounds good to me. Rich, I think you're going to definitely get a lot more by way of questioning tonight. So you may want to
Okay.
leave some time for that
Yeah, absolutely.
than the luncheon seminar last time.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Yeah. And I know we'll be doing more of these in the coming months.
Okay.
As people start learning about this and why this is happening and how
Yeah,
it
sure.
works, or how it works and all that good stuff.
Yep.
We're not going to be quiet from now on.
No worries.
It looks like we're up and running live to the YouTube feed as well. So we'll have this recorded. We'll be able to, anybody will be able to access it anytime they want via the YouTube link. So that's good. All right. It's about 7:05. Guess we'll get started here. How's everybody doing tonight? I'm Tom DeCourt. I am the tax assessor in Maplewood Township. I'm here with Rich Buscemi. He is the representative from Professional Property Appraisals, and he's going to walk us through the steps, process, and elements of a revaluation. And then at the end of his demonstration, we'll take some questions. You guys will hit the raise your hand button, and I'll move you over to be able to ask the question, and then I'll move you back while Rich answers it, and we'll go through and answer some questions if we can too. This is also being fed to the live YouTube channel that Maplewood Township has. So in the future, you'll be able to go back and either watch this again for the first time or rewatch it, as maybe you have questions or you want to check something out that maybe you thought you missed or something of that nature. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Rich. Rich from Professional Property Appraisals. I guess you're going to share your screen. You're going to show us some slides and talk us through a revaluation. So thanks a lot for being here, and take it away.
All right, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. And good evening to everybody. So as Tom said, I am going to go through a quick PowerPoint. It only takes about 10-15 minutes. At the end, as Tom said, we will open it up to questions and answers. I just wanted to remind everyone, I won't be able to answer anything specific about your property tonight. So if you have questions, it just has to be general questions just about the process, okay? And then I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so what is a revaluation? A revaluation is a program undertaken by a municipality to appraise all real property at its fair market value. The goal of a revaluation program is to ensure the tax burden is equitably distributed throughout a municipality. What is it meant by fair market value? Fair market value is the price at which the municipal assessor believes a property would sell for at a fair and bona fide sale price, or at a fair and bona fide sale by a private contract on October 1st of the pre-tax year. So basically what a house would sell for in the open market with a willing buyer and a willing seller, a house that's not under short sale or foreclosure or something of that nature. So why reval now? A revaluation is warranted when properties in a taxing district are being assessed substantially below or above true market value. The average property in Maplewood is assessed at just around 77% of market value for 2022. The last reval occurred in 2017. So who will conduct the revaluation? Well, that would be us. The township has entered into an agreement with Professional Property Appraisers Incorporated to perform both township-wide revaluations. We're also doing your neighbor at South Orange as well. Okay, so on the right, you'll see a picture of what one of our field inspectors would look like. You'll see we have a uniform with our company name on the shirt. We also wear jackets as well with our company's name on them. They can be in gray or blue. We also do data collection on Surface tablets, what you see in the picture, kind of just like an iPad. And we also walk around with a big measuring tape. Usually you see it on our hip as well. In addition to that, each data collector will have a photo ID badge visibly displayed. It will show the company's name, Professional Property Appraisers, as well as the individual's name. The inspector can also provide a letter of introduction that's on municipal letterhead that contains telephone number for questions or concerns. Be sure to always ask to see the credentials of anyone seeking to enter your home, and do not admit anyone who cannot produce this identification. What occurs during the revaluation process? Interiors and exteriors of each property are physically inspected and building dimensions are noted. The exterior of a property will be photographed. Recent sales of comparable properties are analyzed and will be adjusted to estimate the value of the property that has not been sold. For commercial properties typically purchased for investment purposes, is studied in terms of its income producing capability. All information believed to influence value will be gathered, reviewed, and analyzed. So what is expected of the property owners? Interior inspections, especially require the residents to cooperate with the data collectors. The validity of market value depends on the collection of the accurate data. Any assistance a taxpayer can provide will aid in the total data collection process. If there's information you believe should be considered in the evaluation, please inform the data collector. We will make every effort to cause the property owners the least possible inconvenience. And remember, the data collectors are not necessarily responsible for developing the market value estimate. Their job is usually to collect the pertinent information to be used later as a base to develop the property's value. So what will the data collectors look for? Data collectors will record such items as if you have central air conditioning, number of bathrooms, what kind of heat system do you have, the size and percentage if you have an attic or a basement, and if it's finished or unfinished, as well as fireplaces. The exterior inspections include measurements of each structure, such as garages, in-ground pools, or any other accessory buildings. Some examples of what would not be noted are, how was your house decorated? If you have fences, window air conditioning, gas grills, and landscaping, etc. So what if you're not home? Upon initial visit, a notice will be left with the inspector's ID number, as well as our phone number asking you to call for an appointment. And also at that time, the exterior inspection will be completed as well. And then if we do not hear from you in the near future, a second attempt will be made and leaving another notice on your door asking you again to call for an appointment. Appointments can be scheduled during weekdays, evenings, as well as Saturdays if need be. If the representative is unable to inspect your home, the interior information will be estimated. So everyone's, probably biggest concern, will my taxes go up? Although the revaluation will result in a change of nearly all individual assessed values, it does not mean that all property tax burdens will change. The tax rate will be adjusted in 2024 to compensate for the change in the assessed values. So a quick example I like to use is if the average assessment were to change by 50%, if they were to go up by 50%, and again, that's the average, that means the tax rate would have to be adjusted by 50% to compensate for that change. Since not all properties have appreciated in a value at the same rate, some tax levies will go up, some will stay about the same, and others will actually go down. So will taxpayers be informed of their proposed assessment? Yes, a notice of the new assessed values for each property will be mailed out toward the end of 2023. The impact of the new assessments will not affect the property's owner tax bill until the 2024 tax year. So if you were dissatisfied with the proposed assessment, the notice of your new 2024 assessed value will explain how to arrange for a personal informal meeting with one of our representatives from obviously our company. And that'll be to go over the proposed assessment information gathered. Taxpayers attending the review should be prepared to support any disagreement regarding the assessed value of their property. For example, recent sales of similar or comparable properties or incorrect data about the home. An example would be if we have the incorrect number of bathrooms in the home. So what can a taxpayer do if you are not satisfied as a result of the informal meeting? If for any reason a taxpayer is not satisfied with her or his assessed value for any given year, the taxpayer has the right to file a formal appeal with the County Board of Taxation on or before April 1st of that given year. And then it's extended to May 1st for the first year after the revaluation. And I'm going to leave this up. This is at least up for a minute if anyone wants to gather this, but this is just our contact information. And that would conclude my presentation. Tom, I don't know if you want to take it from here with the questions and answers, and I will answer them as they come through.
Tom, if I may jump in here for a second.
Sure, Mayor.
I just want to welcome everyone to this webinar tonight. And as we get to questions, I want to give you gentlemen the opportunity to just talk a little bit generally about how we got here. Rich mentioned it in his opening as part of his slides, but I think people need to know why we're doing it now. What is the ratio in Maplewood and South Orange currently? The pertinent ratio, and who makes the determination that a reval is warranted? We've been informing residents who reach out to us individually through social media and through other avenues. But here that we have the experts, I think it's important to hear from them that we are where we are because of the ratio. What does that mean exactly? And how the county basically doesn't give us much of a choice here in doing this during this time, and that it applies equally to Maplewood and South Orange. Can you go a little bit over that in greater detail?
Rich, can you go back to that slide that shows the
Sure.
ratios?
Sure. Okay, here you go.
So basically, these are the ratios of assessed value. Oop,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just bringing it back up there.
that's okay. Of assessed value to what is true market value, and these ratios are developed by the Division of Taxation, and they show that we're significantly under the 100% level, which is where we'd like to be. Actually, South Orange is just slightly actually below us, worse than us, in fact. And then there's another number that's not on this slide, but it's the coefficient of deviation. And these are standards that are set up by the Division of Taxation. Once we hit these thresholds, the County Board of Taxation orders us to do the reval. So in fact, what Mayor Davis said is correct. Like, we don't have a lot of choice here, where they do their studies every year and they keep track of the numbers, and then eventually, when certain thresholds are hit, they make a demand that we go ahead and revalue the entire town to fairly and equitably redistribute the tax burden, or the assessed value burden, which triggers the equation for taxes. In this case, in ratio, so we're closer to 100% by a little, but South Orange, luckily, is basically in the same, it's the same similar market, and we do share schools and we do share fire departments. So at this point, it's kind of fortunate that we're both being forced to do it at the same time. This way, we'll actually both be back at 100% at the same time, and it'll be a little more clear as to how to distribute those burdens too, as far as the public school system and the fire department go. I don't know, Rich, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's exactly what I would have said as well. So I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Terrific.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Not a problem at all. Terrific. Thank you for that. And just a little bit on this, one of the things that people have wondered about, and I certainly have wondered about as a private resident, is, yes, obviously the assessed value is not at 100% of market rate, because we just went through a wacky market, right? Where, we had some incredible sales in town, a market that, even by, realtors' opinion, was very inflated. So isn't it counterintuitive then to do a reval during such an inflated market?
I mean, it's definitely, you bring up an interesting point for sure. Again, I think the biggest thing is it's out of the municipality's hands. It could change, obviously, if hypothetically, if the market were to go down significantly in a couple of years, there is a chance that the county could order to do, maybe a reassessment, maybe not as in depth of a revaluation. But again, I think just when those numbers hit it, such a difference of market value at 100%, that's where a revaluation is ordered. The market's constantly changing. You can't constantly chase, the market. No one knows what the market's going to be. Obviously the revaluation wasn't just, ordered yesterday. But it's definitely a very valid point. I think the other thing you have to remember, though, is yes, the market, is still probably inflated if you look at it. However, the big thing to remember is that, everyone's going to be assessed, using this market. So everyone's going to be on the same playing field, if that makes any sense.
That does. And that goes to one of the purposes of a reval is to equitably distribute the burden. Right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Another thing to consider too is that we were fortunate because the initial stirrings from the county was, hey, you guys are out of whack, you need a revaluation, and let's look at it for 2023. And we were able to at least get another year out into 2024, which means that COVID market that was inflated, the 2021 sales and even the beginning of half of 2022, where it was just like, oh my goodness, it's a little bit wild. We're kind of seeing that curtail a little bit now, and we're still getting some crazy sales, but we still have enough of a base of what looks like is getting closer to real market that by the time we get to our valuation date of October 1st, 2023, we have had another additional 10 months of sales out from what was, craziness really. So hopefully that'll benefit both South Orange and Maplewood, where our values are a little more realistic and stable. Only time will tell. Like Rich said, we can't chase it. So the line in the sand was drawn. We have to make a decision. We're going to do it. If it turns out in a year that it's bad, we can do maintenance and we can do compliance plans or reassessment programs themselves to try and fix anything that is really out of whack. But hopefully between myself and the revaluation company, we'll really have our hands on this and the pulse of what's happening.
Wonderful. And then lastly, what is the difference between a revaluation and a reassessment?
So yeah, a revaluation versus reassessment, the end result, is the same. It's to, reassess the town's values, to bring everyone back to market value, whatever that may be. It's usually just not in depth as far as, the inspection process, not as many attempts and that kind of stuff, but the end result is the same. It's usually just not in depth time-wise.
The requirements for the revaluation are more strict and more precise. Like they require you to see more houses, inspect more houses, and visit more houses. Where in a reassessment, you have a little more leeway. So the revaluation is actually more thorough and it'll get you to better numbers, more accurate numbers. But it's obviously a more intensive program as well.
Thank you for that. All right. Well, at this point, I think we should definitely open it up to our residents who are eagerly awaiting an opportunity to interact with us. So let's do that.
I see some hand raised. Bailey walked me through this. Hopefully I don't mess it up. I'll go in order as to how they come, and I will hopefully be able to do this successfully. We'll find out. Let's see here. All right. So first up is Joan. Did that work? Did she come across?
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
I have a question. Given the current COVID situation and the other respiratory illnesses that are prevalent in the community, will the inspectors who are going into residents' homes be wearing a face covering?
We will wear face masks if if asked. We do have them. But yeah, we're not going around wearing them because we're outside constantly. But we will have them. And if you're not comfortable at the time, what maybe on the first attempt, you can call us for an appointment. We'll come back and be sure to have a face covering.
So they will have it with them and put it on request.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, you're on mute, just so you know.
Sorry about that. I was just trying to get the next person up here. It
Yeah.
looks like I got you.
Ingrid Nagy, yeah? Am I
Can you hear me?
speaking?
Yep, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay, great. So why can't you share the coefficient numbers?
It's just not, I'm actually not at my desk, so I can't pull them up, but they are definitely there. They're public record. I believe we were at 14.7% and South Orange was at 14.9%. I can't speak to 100%, but if you want to reach out to me tomorrow or anytime, at any time, you can reach out and I can give you the exact number. But I know it was 15% is the threshold, and we were basically just at that threshold.
So if we're just at that threshold, I thought the threshold was more like 16 or higher. And I'm just really confused about this because I tend to agree that the coefficient is the key question, not this other numbers you guys are sharing. And that we're being pushed to do it way before a lot of the communities have had to do it, including in Essex County, which we're always at 16 or higher. So I'm just trying to understand that. And the second question I have is that, so, as people have pointed out, we're at a very high market still. I'd be more happy if we were using numbers in the second half of 2023 because we might have a different set of numbers going on.
We are actually. The
The
evaluation date
Okay.
is October 1st of 2023, and the closer we're going to use sales all the way up to that point, and even some after that point, because that would be corroborative. But we will be using those sales prices.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And the other point is that the comment that was made earlier, and I tend to disagree with you on this, is that the areas, if the market starts to fall, there will be a disproportionate of which areas within the community will fall first. In terms of pricing. So there could be a completely out of whack thing that happens if things start to fall quickly. So I'm just going to put that out there and just say that will be an issue. And I'm unclear. So will is the coefficient the same when it's on the downside? And how do you, if the coefficient, let's just say that, and I don't know if it's different, but if it's somebody that's disproportionately affected or their market value has dropped more precipitously than another house, is their only option to end up basically challenging their property valuation and going through legal channels?
The coefficient is, so the ratio is the level at which the assessment, how it pertains to the true market value as done by a study by the Division of Taxation. The coefficient breaks the town down into segments where they're studying if different sections of town are rising or falling at a different rate than other sections of town. In this case, every section is kind of appreciating, but they are doing it at a different rate. So that's the coefficient and what it's looking at. Regardless, we can't predict what's going to happen. You're right; it could precipitously go down, and it could be that that certain neighborhoods fall in greater pace than other neighborhoods. But we have to, deal with them as they can. I can do maintenance. The revaluation company can be pulled back in to do reassessments if that is the case, but
Oh, I'm sorry, you
but
want that up?
no, that's okay. That's fine. But yeah, that is true. Those are chances and possibilities, but we have to go through, do the best job we can, and then see what happens. Once the assessments are set, the only repercussion, and it's always the same repercussion, is to file a tax appeal. You have that ability every year, regardless of whether it's a revaluation or if it's just a regular standard tax year.
And I'm sorry that we were actually below the 15 that should trigger it, and it was still pushed. What is what's the value to Essex County to push it?
You know, I'm not 100% sure what the value to Essex County is. To us, it's a value because it's not just the coefficient of deviation, it's also the ratio, and the ratio is dropping precipitously. Last year it was like 84%, and now we're at 77%. You know, and that's over a 2-year study. So really the ratio might even be lower truly, but thankfully it's a 2-year study. So it's kind of weighted in that way. But it's a combination of both of those things. And Essex County's been proactive. I know that like there's many other municipalities that have either just been done, are ordered to be done, or are in the process. So it's not just South Orange and Maplewood being singled out. There's like Orange was just completed last year. I believe West Caldwell, Montclair. There's many municipalities in the last 2 years, and it's a long cycle. You can't do them all at once. So she kind of goes through Joan over at the county, and they study this stuff them, and along with the Division of Taxation to try and figure out who's going next, etc. All right.
So can we move folks out as panelists as they've had the opportunity to ask a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to move them. Maybe it's just remove, or are that going to take them out totally? Or
Bailey, is Bailey here with us?
she wasn't. I think she was, and then she's back at town hall with a real meeting. Let me just text her.
And also, we're going to try, we should stick to about 3 to 4 minutes in order to get through all the folks who have questions.
Okay, I see what's happening here. Okay, I think I got you. All right, let's see if I can go back to the attendees, and we'll go to the next person up. Bear with me, this is my first time running one of these. But let's see if Joe comes over.
Am I in?
Ah, there you are.
I have a question. How do the assessors review and assess the conditions of homes? We've seen on our block alone where houses that have the same number of bedrooms, the same number of bathrooms, the same square footage, literally sell for $200,000 more based on updated bathrooms, primary suites, updated kitchens, et cetera, et cetera. Although the home size and the number of bathrooms, the number of bedrooms are the same. How does the appraisers evaluate that?
Yeah, so everything is taken into account. As I mentioned during my slideshow, that condition is a factor into appraising or assessing all of the homes. So regarding the homes that are substantially renovated, their assessment is going to be higher than someone whose isn't. And what that number will be, that'll be goes into our analysis in how we compare properties, and an apple to an apple, so to speak, and we try to figure out those differences.
As part of the assessment, are you asking us to give you the age of the roof, the age of the furnace, the age of the hot water heater, et cetera, or is that part of your
So it's
data collection?
Yeah, I mean, not everything in detail like that, because, like a roof eventually is going to have to be replaced. Windows are going to have to be eventually replaced. But, the overall condition of a home, is the overall condition of a home completely renovated? Is the overall condition of a home, need some fixing up? That'll be all stuff that we can determine as we do the data collection. And if there's something in particular in your property that you think should be, noted, you want to make sure you tell a data collector at the time, say, listen, this is what's going on in my house. I believe this affects my value because of, X, Y, and Z.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy, if you can hear us, you are on.
Okay, this is Kathy's husband, hence the deep voice. So my name's Paul. So two questions. The first one is when the data collector comes to a residential property, if the homeowner has some knowledge about a situation that they think affects the value of their property, and just for the sake of argument, let's say that they get the feeling that the inspector maybe isn't quite understanding their point, would you want to provide an email address or something rather than waiting to the review process at the very end of the program? Is there a way that a homeowner could send you some information, maybe pointing out specifically what their concern is, so that when your appraisers who are appraising could take that into consider, or at least consider it when they're appraising the property?
Yeah, absolutely. On our website, which is, I don't know if you, we didn't send letters out yet, but there'll be contact information with, way to get in touch with us and an email address. We have a contact. I mean, if you want, I can pull back up my slide too with our information. And, I'll do that just so everyone can have it. Give me 1 second. So you go on our website, which is ppareval.com, and then there'll be a way to, you'll see our contact information for a email address as well.
Okay, that would be great. The second question is, and maybe this is also for the mayor possibly, since the market has been kind of crazy, and you alluded to maybe 21 and 22 sales possibly may not provide as much help as the 2023 sales do. I'm just a little concerned that I've heard that the number of properties on the market right now is pretty low. I'm a little concerned about the amount of data that you might have to make these decisions. My question is, if it gets into the months of, I know the county is the one that ordered this revaluation. If it gets into the months of June and July, and you and the assessor feel that maybe there isn't enough data, would the township consider opening up a dialogue with the county at that point and pointing out to the county that maybe there's not enough data to finish it this year, and it might have to be put off to next year, which is something I realize you wouldn't know now, but maybe at some point during the year that might come to light. Just
If that did present itself, and Paul, you do seem to have a pretty deeper understanding of this process, I suspect. But yeah, but absolutely, if we find that the data's there's just not enough there, or if that I'm uncomfortable with how this process went, or how the numbers look at the end of the day, which means in the fall, yeah, by all means, I will approach the county and ask them for an extension and have to have some reasonable proof as to why I'm asking for such a thing. But if the data's not there, or the numbers don't seem right, I'm going to ask to put it off for a year. Absolutely.
And the
Okay,
governing
thanks.
body would certainly support that. There's no question.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Let's see if I can get back to that screen that I had everybody in here.
Tom, am I messing you up with sharing my screen?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Sorry about
good.
that. All right.
That's okay. Okay, Joanne. Let's see here. Joanne, you're on?
I'm trying to, okay, okay, I'm unmuted now? Great. I wonder if you could just clarify some things that were sort of alluded to in previous questions. So will you be actually taking note of information that would decrease the value of my home, such as my crumbling cellar floor and windows that are falling apart? Are those things noted?
So, yeah, so again, I can't go into detail about specific properties at this moment, but again, overall condition is a big factor in determine, your new assessed value. So, I mean, based off what the market tells you, based off of the average ratio, it's saying the average assessment is really going to go up in value at a certain percentage. So, has your value gone down? I don't have that answer right now.
But those things are things that are
Absolutely.
noticeably not great are noted.
Exactly.
All,
Yeah.
yeah, all of those things are contributors, the positives and the negatives. They're all important, and they're all notated and evaluated as to what's the effect of bad windows to the market or something of that variety.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay. T. Mason.
Okay, hello?
Gotcha.
Okay, Rich, first question. Can you walk me through the photo taking process approximately and I know every house is different, obviously, but just generally speaking, about how many photos are you taking? Are you taking a photo of every room?
No, photos are just exterior only. We'll take a front picture, a back picture, and then if you have any, accessory buildings, meaning, a garage or a pool, something like that. But nothing, no interior inspections. No interior photographs.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I thought I read in the letter that you would be taking interior photos as well.
Yep, no problem. Yeah, no interior at all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, Ariel coming over. Ariel, are you there?
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself.
That's okay. Here we go.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you could speak a little further about how that process or mechanism works to adjust the tax rate after this reevaluation is complete. You kind of talked about that equitable, distribution of the tax burden. Could you speak a little bit about that and what entity or who oversees that process? Thanks.
Yeah. So regarding the tax rate, we can't predict what the 2024 budget is going to be. So once we complete the process, towards the end of this year, we are going to be using, to compare an apple to an apple best we can, we're going to be using the 2023 budget, but with the new assessments, or what's another word is the rateable base. So to get the same budget, if the rateable base goes up, meaning all the assessment values go up, to get the same budget, that means the tax rate would have to go down by that same percentage to get that same budget, if that makes any sense. And I'm sorry, if you're talking, you're on mute.
No, thank you. I think you answered that. I
Okay.
guess just a follow-up question, is that just the townships do that, or that's something that the county does, or both?
It's that's the municipal budget. I mean, the municipal budget also has, the county budget and the school budget, but we use the total of the municipality's budget to determine, the new taxes.
Okay, thank you.
Drew, you there?
I'm here. You hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Hey, okay, two quick questions. One, what happens when somebody refuses for you to come into their property? Do they have to let you in? And then
No.
two, well, I'm sorry.
I'm
we'll
sorry.
take it.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go
All
for
right,
it.
yeah, I'll answer one question at a time. I'm sorry. So regarding refusals, so yeah, as a taxpayer, you have the right to refuse. If we don't get inside a property, we are going to use our best determination, what we think your property has. I mean, regardless, your house would be reassessed. But again, we would be at a disadvantage if we didn't come inside your house. There might be things we might estimate because we don't know. Maybe we're going to estimate your conditions nicer if you don't let us in, something of that nature.
Okay, and then quick, last question is,
Mhm.
for example, simple numbers, like, say your house is assessed at $500,000 and the tax rate is 4%, and it gets reassessed at, say, $1 million.
Mhm.
What are the chances that you will be paying 4% of that million, or is it too hard to say until the budget comes out?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you exactly. I can only give you, just estimates and certain examples that have happened previously. I've been doing revaluations for many years now. Again, if the only example I can give you, if the, using just simple math, if the average assessment, again, because we're taking an average, in this example, if the average assessment goes up 50%, that means the tax rate would have to go down by 50%, to compensate. It has to, and it does. I see it happen.
Okay, so it's on the average, it takes as adjusted on the average. Okay, I got you.
Mhm.
And then, sorry, last question. I mean, on the refusal option, like, in theory, if someone had a substantial amount of renovations done into the interior of the house, there seems to be strong incentive that you would take the risk of not having them come into your house.
You can certainly take that risk. We're going to have the permit data. We're going to have the building department's data. And if that person doesn't like their assessment and they choose to have a tax appeal, they're forced to let us in. You cannot successfully have a tax appeal without an inspection.
Gotcha. But I guess then would it then make the most sense that if you would refuse, you don't like it, then you would appeal? Like, wouldn't you have more risk if you have somebody has substantial reservations, renovations, wouldn't you want to say no? And then if it comes out on the wrong side, then you appeal? Isn't that the incentive? Or
I don't think so. I think the incentive is to get the best assessment you can by allowing access. We'll estimate to the highest and best use that we can estimate to.
okay, thank you.
trying to move through this expeditiously, Rich, but it is it's not a seamless process to
No-
do it in this fashion, but
No
here we
problem.
go. Donna, you are up next here. Let's see. Donna, are you there?
Sorry, it was just a quick question. When
Sure.
does it start and when does this end? Is there a specific time period?
Yeah, so we'll be starting in the next, I mean, and Tom, you might have a better idea because we're still trying to work out some more details, but the process really will go on, throughout the end of the year as far as data collection goes. The physical inspections will probably be within the next couple months. But again, the process is really going to start from, we start analyzing stuff now. We're going to look at it towards the end of the year. But as far as like the physical inspection, as far as data collectors, we should be out in the next, few weeks, a few months, and hopefully be wrapped up, early spring, late spring. I'm sorry, early summer.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Margaret, let's see here. Come across. Margaret, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Here we go. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, I'm curious, at what point do we get to see the details of their inspection of the house, or do we only get to see them if we contest the final result?
No, so when we send out your notice of assessment letters towards the end of the year, at that point, you'll be able to set up a meeting to, review the information. You don't necessarily have to just contest it. If you're just curious and you want to know what kind of data was collected on your property, you may do that at that time. And also during, the actual inspection with one of the inspectors, you have obviously the right to ask them at that point, what kind of information are you collecting on me, just to make sure they got it right at that point as well. Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Felicity Crew, are you there?
Hold on, I'm trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Can you
We
hear me?
got you. Yep.
Okay, great. Clearly I haven't used Zoom on my phone before. It was having me do all these permissions. I know that the vast majority of the town is single family homes, but is there any difference in the process for like an apartment building, or is it essentially the same?
Yeah, I mean, commercial, if you're like typically apartment complexes or commercial properties, they're done more of on an income, producing capability.
I'm talking more about like a condo building.
So same, it would be done in the same process, market value and the same data collection then.
Okay, and the common areas are taken into account as part of the overall market value of the unit?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a condo complex, I mean, you're going to focus on using, sales directly in that complex. You're not gonna be able to compare a condo to a single family home.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Jasmine, you're up next here. Let's see.
Hi. Thank you for having us this evening. It's super helpful to hear all the information as well as all of the great questions, because I'm learning a lot more about just how this all works. My question is, if you are new to the township within the last 2 to 3 years during, all of that COVID pandemic time, and so to the earlier point that, a lot of homes were being purchased, and you then had your property essentially reevaluated because the taxes changed. Does this one circumvent that, or is the analysis based on the newly reevaluated taxes on the property or the prior?
Don't forget, this revaluation is, it's not a tax-based program. It's really evaluating the assessments and re-establishing them at 100% of true value as of October 1st of 2023. So once they start this process, it wipes the entire slate clean and everyone is reassessed. It's not based on taxes. It's really just based on what's the market value of your home and everybody else's property, commercial, vacant land, all of it. So it's like starting from scratch.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, Amanda, you're up here. Hopefully it comes across.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. I just missed the beginning slideshow, so I was wondering if you were planning on sharing those slides with the community at all so I can review them later on. I kind of came in right as questions were beginning.
Yeah, so I think this, and Tom can mention this, but everything's being broadcast on YouTube, so you should be able to get it on YouTube. I believe, I'm sure the municipality will post a link for that, but Tom, you might want to speak to that.
Yeah, that's correct. This is going straight to YouTube Live, to the Maplewood channel, and it'll always be there. There'll be a link that you'll be able to get from from the township website, and you'll be able to go back and watch it as many times as you want for all the entertainment purposes you can handle.
Can't wait. Thank you.
We're also going to put this information on our website.
100%.
Yeah, so people can access it there as well.
Great. Thank you.
Wendy Foster, you're up next. Let's see if this technology is being technical. Indeed it is.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, I was just wondering how is the given the amount of apartment buildings going up in the neighborhood, I mean, is this taken into account in raising the taxes again? We've been here for over 20 years and we've seen an awful lot of building and an awful lot of tax increases, and I was just wondering if that's how this is taken into account. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I don't know specifically, what's being mentioned, but again, everything is, as Tom just said a minute ago, we'll be like in a clean slate. So we're going to be taking all the valuations and all data collection into account when valuing the new assessments. So no matter if something's brand new construction or not, again, this all goes into analyzing and studying the market.
Also, something to remember is that this is not the purpose of this is not to raise more taxes. Like we're not allowed to have raised $10 this year, and now because of the reval we can get 12. The budget is the budget, and it's a predetermined amount of what they're going to add, and it's just the assessment divided into that will create the tax rate. But it is not an endeavor to try and raise more capital.
Okay, yes, thank you very much. I understand that. It's just that we've never had a reevaluation in 22 years that has gone down. Thank you.
Actually, the tax rate does typically go down in a revaluation in a market where our ratio drops. Sometimes it could be the opposite, where the ratio is over 115%. And then in that case, they bring assessments down, but by nature of how that equation works, the tax rate goes back up and it's not as good. But in this case, it's going to be assessments going up, tax rate going down. All right. Let's see.
Thank you for answering.
Hmm? Melvin Anderson. Why that's, oh, there we go. Hey, Melvin, you there?
Hello?
Ah, there we go. We got you.
All right, quick question. Now, is there a central location where persons can find out what is the current evaluation on their property? That's number one. Number two, in the event that a homeowner is not home and you're not able to get in, is there like a standard process to round up or use the highest possible evaluation? And do you use external sources in your evaluation?
So regarding your current assessment, you can visit or give your actual tax assessor a call, and they can they provide you your current assessed value. And regarding, if we don't get inside a home, now again, we don't just make one attempt. There'll be a total of actually 3 attempts made on the property. The first 2 will be physical inspection, physical knock on your door within a couple of weeks of each other. And then towards the end of the process, we'll be mailing out a letter to anyone that we didn't get inside to. But as Tom mentioned earlier, if we are unable to do an interior inspection, yes, your home will be estimated. And yeah, you could be estimated for things you don't have or at a higher value, because again, we're at a disadvantage without, seeing the interior of your home. And you just mentioned something about external sources. I don't know if I quite understand. I mean, we're using, at a market for the average residential will be a market approach or comparable properties.
Okay, thanks, Melvin. Oh, okay. True Grid, I think is second round here. Let's see. Not sure why it's not working now. Oh. I'm not sure. Let's try Ron, see if that works.
Hi, Tom.
How you doing today?
Good, good. I just want to clarify on your conversation with the person who was here like for 20 years just recently, when you said there is a possibility of the tax rate going down, which has not happened in the last 20 years, because the total assessed value of all the properties in this town will go up. So is there a possibility that we will see the tax rate going down since the budget should be more or less the same? Or maybe even we cut down on the budget this year to make sure we don't end up paying extra.
By the nature of the market, and we haven't done any research, but we know that our ratio is 77%, almost 78% roughly. So we're 22% below market value. Our hope is to be at 100% of true value. So if we are going to go as a whole entity, go up 22% on average, then the tax rate has to go down 22% because it's not, you can't get a penny extra or a penny more rather. It's the budget is the budget. That's the number. That's the money. So in that case, yeah, if the assessments were to go up, the overall value of the town goes up and our burden to the tax rate has to go down.
So we will, when in the beginning of the call, you said like the burden is to be distributed, but I just want to make sure it's not to be increased. So
yeah, the burden stays
either way.
The burden stays the same. Now in 2024, we don't know what the budget is. It could be a higher budget than 2023, but typically they're close. So that being said, the tax rate probably, would be going down.
Because Maplewood happens to be one of the towns which has the highest property tax amongst the ones, and same thing with the assessed value. So if we are collecting so much money, hopefully, I mean, the budget technically shouldn't go up, and the money that we are collecting is more.
But Ron, this isn't really a forum of about the budget. This is about the process of reevaluating the assessments of properties in the town. I think the budget and the spending is probably a different meeting and a different conversation altogether.
Which affects the property tax, so it's kind of related.
Well, we're only talking about assessments here today, though. We're going to reevaluate all the properties and reset every assessment in town.
And is there a place where I can see where every dollar of the property tax has been spent, like the total money collected from the town is spent where? Is there a website where
I'm not sure because I'm just a tax assessor talking about property appraisals. But if you reach out to the tax collector, he may have a better idea. Mayor, any thoughts?
Sure. Thank you, Ron, for the question. Every year when we go into our budget workshops, which are starting next Monday night and Tuesday night, we do public educational, outward-facing meetings about the budget because we want to show people how the sausage is made, right? And get a better idea of what things cost, what they don't cost, and what the process is for different services and programs. And then to also have them see when we get to an adopted budget where the money goes. I mean, typically and generally speaking, for every dollar in tax that you pay, nearly 60% of that, 60 cents, goes to the school district. Another 25 to 30 cents goes to the county, and the remainder stays with the township, right? So that is generally has been the formula throughout the years about, well, where does my taxes go? How are they spent? But yeah, I think Tom is right in that we haven't gone into our budget workshops yet. We don't have an FY23 budget adopted. So we don't know what that is, but certainly you are correct, sir, that we need to be mindful of our budget because it does affect taxes, because we are majority residential community, not a commercial community. Certainly we have new businesses and this, that, and the other, but we don't have a Home Depot, we don't have a Target, and we don't have, in other words, those massive commercial ratables that some other communities do that offset revenue from property taxes. And you're welcome to come to our public budget workshops. We'll be publishing that schedule shortly this week and providing those Zoom links. They will be virtual like this meeting is tonight, and we can engage further then.
And is there a way for residents to get involved in the financial planning of the town?
Of course. Of course, these are public meetings. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Ron.
Yeah.
Benson Ati. Benson, are you there? There we go.
Yes. Hey,
What's-
Tom, how you doing?
Good.
Thanks for this. It's definitely been very informative. Just wanted to ask, I guess, a little bit clarity. When you mentioned for commercial properties that it will be based on the income potential, how exactly is that determined?
So for commercial properties, again, if it is an income producing property, there are certain forms called Chapter 91s we sent out to these commercial properties that we request information to be sent back to us, and that's some of the information we look at.
Okay, and if it's not?
It'll be like based like a market approach, comparable properties, just again, a similar approach to a residential, but obviously we're not comparing residentials to commercials, like properties. So commercial to commercial properties that would have sold.
Okay, so it's more, so not income. So not, when you say income potential, you're talking about resale or sell value, not lease, not, I guess, I'm trying to understand when you say income potential.
For the most part, the income approach is used for the commercial properties. We're going to request income and expense statements from all of the commercial properties in town. And for the data that we're lacking, we're going to use available market values to find out what our prices per square foot for leases and what are the going up rates for certain types of properties, apartment buildings or industrial buildings or mixed use properties, and then apply the proper income analysis and direct capitalization approaches to each of those properties.
Okay. And at the end of that process, that information you said will be available, right? Where we would be able to see, okay, this is what the market, this is what the market rate was based on our assessment.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike, you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, yep, we got you.
Great. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the what seems to be a little bit of a subjective evaluation on the interior, particularly on renovations? It seems to me you can visually see something that's incredibly in poor condition, and you can identify something that's in extraordinarily good condition. And then there are renovations and there are renovations. How would you know that somebody has spent thousands of dollars on plumbing fixtures versus going to Home Depot and buying something that, works for 2 weeks, but looks great?
Sure. I mean, that, it's a good question. That can be obviously subjective. It's hard to put a value on it, but again, it's more done on the overall condition, like I said. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a better way to phrase it. Regarding value, I mean, cost to value doesn't always correlate, right? You could renovate a kitchen. It may have cost, let's say, $100,000, but maybe it's only worth, in the market, maybe $30,000. You know what I mean? Does that kind of make sense? But that's all stuff we have to look at.
Yeah. So again, the extremes are obvious, right? Something is in terrible condition and
exactly.
It's rated a 1 on a scale, and maybe there's a 5 on a scale. I guess the question is, how do you determine what's a 3 or a 4?
Yeah, I mean, good question. Again, it's kind of in beyond in the beholder of the inspector, in their vision, is this average condition, and is this in good condition? Is it in excellent condition? Is it fair condition? Is it dilapidated, condition? That's, really going to be determined by, that inspector and notating, the house in the overall condition.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. John Larry, or John, you there?
Oh, yeah. Given that, you two gentlemen are probably not the ones doing the groundwork, what kind of training do you provide to your contractors or staff in, making the assessments, et cetera, and in particular with regards to bias, given some of the stories, you hear in the news?
Regarding, training, I can tell you that, we train our inspectors very thoroughly. We tell them what to look out for, what not to look out for, that kind of stuff. But we don't just throw someone in there without any kind of training or experience. There's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot that has to be looked at. So we do give extensive training. Most of our field staff has been with us for quite some time. And we also work directly, with, I'll be working directly with, Tom as the tax assessor for your municipality as well to, determine, the values as it gets later on.
Thanks, John. Technology seems to have forsaken us here. Still a few more hands raised. I'm trying to get you guys over and on so you can ask your question, but not really cooperating with me for some reason. Let's see here. Let's try another one. Here we go.
Hello. I've got a few questions, and I'll just run them out, and you can take them as you like. First, sort of to echo the previous question, how do you ensure your field personnel are not impacted by any political bias, given how well known this town is for its own?
Yeah, we don't have any association with the town in that regard. We're a private contractor. To be honest with you, I don't know anything about the town until we get started, and it's strictly, based off of market value.
So then you have to adjust that back to the data, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're looking for deviations in the data.
We just want to make sure everything is accurate.
Okay, can you provide a breakdown of costs associated with the reassessment and how they'll be covered?
Costs, like as regards to like improvements on a house or a
No,
property?
costs to the town for the assessment.
Yeah, I don't have
I guess that there was a contract that was created and a resolution passed, so it's public record to some degree, right, Mayor?
It certainly is, and it's a shared contract because
Shared contract with South Orange because we're revaluing together.
Maplewood and South Orange, so we're each paying, half or whatever it's going to turn out to be the apportionment thereof.
And any rough idea of the ballpark?
I don't have that on hand, but Aram, if you reach out to me, I'll put my email here in the chat if I can. I can get you those numbers tomorrow when I'm back in the office.
And that'd be great. And then are there any existing property tax breaks given to developers to encourage business that might be adjusted as part of this process?
Oh, you mean in terms
ahead,
pilots? You mean in terms of pilots?
Well, it's common in some nearby towns where they encourage building of new construction, give the developer a property tax break for a certain number of years, that sort of thing. And I don't know if we've done anything like that.
We have in Maplewood, but very sparingly, and we have most often done so in circumstances where the property being developed was abandoned, vacant for a very long time, and also required significant environmental remediation. A good example of that is the former Gleason's, the dry cleaner over on Parker and Valley, which is a redevelopment project, and there is currently being discussed a pilot for that redeveloper in light of the $2 million plus they're going to have to spend in environmental remediation. We don't have those final numbers just yet because they don't have them from DEP and the other regulatory authorities associated.
So those agreements would be considered grandfathered more or less, or would they be considered for the revaluation?
That's a question for our professionals here.
Yeah, I mean, a pilot agreement that's reached between the municipality and a developer do not get nulled or voided based on a revaluation.
So grandfathered, okay. And then how do you address concerns about the potential for increased property taxes to lead to displacement of long-term residents in the community?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again?
How would you address concerns about the potential for increased property taxes to lead to displacement of long-term residents in the community?
You know, I'm not really focused on a property tax impact, as it's not really based. This program isn't created in lieu of a property tax, a reason to increase property taxes. It's really to reevaluate and redistribute the assessed values across the municipality because they've fallen out of whack, basically.
Understood, but that of course is what everyone's concern is.
I don't think
I think it's a good question, right? And I'm not really sure unless we have for now. I think the answer is rhetorical, right? Even the governor himself talks about how New Jersey has become more and more unaffordable. Certainly North Jersey has, and Maplewood is no exception. And we hear it from our older residents who built this community. And we're in the process of redoing our master plan this year and adopting a new master plan, hopefully by next year. Early next year, we'll have a new master plan. You know, we really have to look at a lot of things, zoning, land use, beyond just taxes, to see what can we do with the resources that we have in our town to aid aging in place, to aid those with limited incomes, to ensure that this reval does not cause displacement of low-income families in certain areas of our town who, you know, because of gentrification. And these are really the big critical issues facing New Jersey right now. And all of us are working together to figure it out. Certainly, we need a lot of reform in a lot of different ways to allow for greater economic development for municipalities, including increasing state aid. Our state aid has progressively gone down, even in the Murphy administration, although the Murphy administration has been far more kinder in state aid than previous recent administrations in New Jersey. You know, we get very little from the state. And the school district comes around and they say, we want our check. their state aid has also been reduced. So there isn't a short answer. There really isn't, and I'm not evading the question. I'm just kind of illuminating the different components that are part of what needs a long-term sustainable solution for the state of New Jersey, and certainly for this region.
And one final question, and thank you for your answers. Would it be possible, and this question is really to Rich, for the assessors who come to the houses, given how many of us have gone through a difficult pandemic, and many of us have done it through acquiring some furry friends, could the assessors come with some treats for the dogs?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aram.
Wow, there we go. Did that work?
Now you know what Bailey goes through several times a month.
It's very frustrating. Try and get these over here, and oh, here we go. I clicked that button a while ago. Daphne Elroy, are you there? Daphne, I'm sorry, Daphne. Not Daphne.
Miss Elroy, we can see you, but we cannot hear you. I think you're muted.
Hello, is my audio working?
Yes,
we got you.
Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you for taking my question. I wanted to know if the company could please share with residents a blank form that the assessors are going to be using.
So it's not we don't go out on blank forms. We'll be using a digital version of the current property record card.
Property what card?
It's called the property record card. So every property has a property record card with information on there, regarding the data on a home, bedrooms, bathrooms, as I touched on, the data collection process, what we look for, if house has central air, again, there's a whole bunch of information on there, but yeah, we would go out on the existing property record card. And if you wanted to, see that when we come to the inspection, we'll be more than happy to let you look at that.
Could we see it before they come for inspection?
You can absolutely request a copy of your record card from me. Right now, I'm the only one that has that system that has your records. So you can absolutely contact me via email, stop into town hall, or give me a call, and I can print that record out for you, and you can pick it up, or I can email it to you. Absolutely.
Great. And how do we get your email?
It's on the town's website. I can certainly post it up to the end of this thing if it's possible, or I'm in town hall Monday through Friday, so you can stop in and see me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely, before you go, thank you. That's a really good question. And it reminds me of a conversation, Tom and Rich, that we had a couple of months ago when we found out that the county wasn't budging. We bought ourselves more time, but they have to do this, and they're forcing this. We definitely want to either on our website, or more likely on Rich, on your website, put some information together, an interactive page that will allow our residents to look at their current value, market value, look at their property record card, or request it. There's going to be some data issues, but we talked about building that infrastructure and making that part of our interfacing with residents. I think this is a very, very stressful process for our residents. They really don't have any control over any of this. And I'm a resident too, and I'm stressed out about it because I'm not sure if I can afford to stay here much longer, right? I'm a government employee, hello. And things are getting more and more expensive. So I think this is a very stressful process, and the more that we can make it interactive for our residents, the better it's going to be, so that they have the information, they can look at their information, they can spy and snoop on their neighbors and friends' information as well. That's kind of a fun game. And we will talk about that internally, building that capacity before we actually go out and start knocking on doors.
Thank you, Daphne.
So Tom and Rich, I got a question through one of my own chat groups that I have with residents. This resident may or may not be here or may not feel comfortable asking this question, so I'm very comfortable asking it on their behalf. And the question says this, I think it alludes to a previous question. It says, what kind of training does the firm's staff receive, in particular to avoid bias in evaluating homes of people of color? And I think that's a really good question. So this is implicit bias training, sensitivity training, you know, that sort of thing. We are a very diverse community in Maplewood and in South Orange. So I think that's a very relevant question.
Sure. I mean, I guess the answer is, you know, easy as I can. You know, we're strictly looking at, you know, we strictly look at the data on a property that's collected, and that is it. Nothing else goes into it. It's data we collected and using a market analysis, and that's it. There's nothing else goes into it. That's strictly what we look at.
And what about, if I may, kind of related to the question, diversity of the firm's staff?
Yeah. So we do have, you know, a couple, you know, different races that, you know, currently with our company.
Okay. And will you be making decisions about, you know, who goes out to do inspections based on that, so that, you know, the people knocking on doors represent the diversity of the town?
No, I mean, we don't, you know, look at that way. I mean, if you have a certain, you know, area or town, maybe let's say is more fluent in, let's say, a specific language like Spanish, you know, we do have a Spanish inspector. You know, that's something me and Tom could kind of go over. But beyond that, no, we usually don't. You know, we have a job to complete, and we're going to, you know, sweep through the town, you know, to just complete all the inspections as quickly and as accurately as possible.
Fair enough, Rich. You're a numbers guy. I didn't expect you to have information about this kind of stuff. This is really questions to be answered by the executive team, right? The big bosses. But what happens? Let's say, you know, someone knocks on someone's door and they go in and they do their thing, and you know, the homeowner complains. They felt that they were mistreated. There were microaggressions. You know, we know when those happen, it's hard to articulate them.
Sure.
What is their redress? Can they request a different inspector to come next time?
Absolutely. Yeah. If there's anything like that, any uncomfortability, whatever the situation may be, you were not comfortable that time or with that inspector, by all means, it is your right to let someone inside your home. And if that person who is currently inside your home, if you allowed that person in your home and you're not comfortable, by all means, please ask them to leave. And I would ask to call to a supervisor, again, which I would be, you know, the direct supervisor or manager for the revaluation program in your municipality.
Right, terrific. I mean, we have no reason to believe that your team is anything but professional and looking at the data, but it is a concern, right? Like,
Sure. No, I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, like my husband and I, if we feel like someone is looking down their noses at us, you know, and there's a lot of gay households in Maplewood and South Orange, you know, that's going to be a problem. So I really appreciate it. And certainly we have a lot of residents of color as well. So, okay, great. I think we covered this to the extent that we can through you, Rich, anyway.
Yeah, and I could add just one more thing, you know, as far as training goes, I've been with my company for a very long time. And the biggest thing that I've been brought up trading in as I continue to, you know, train myself, you know, it doesn't matter who it is, you know, you treat everyone as you would treat, you know, you treat everyone no matter who they are the same, and obviously with respect and how you would want to be treated as well.
Terrific. So Tom, we'll let you get back to the fun of moving people over. I think our next person is Daniel. Oh, you're muted, Tom.
I've tried to move Daniel several times and it won't move him over.
There he is. He's come. Oh no, now we have Calamira.
Hi, my name is Kalita Lewis, and the question that I have first, thank you, Mayor Daffis, for actually bringing up what I wanted to ask. The question about cultural sensitivity, some of the assessors entering homes of people who speak a different language, cultural barriers. But in addition to that, in terms of some of our seniors and physically different people, those who of us who may be home alone. I'm hoping that perhaps on the website, either the township website or on the assessor's website, there could be some advanced information in terms of if we needed to schedule an appointment where it's a little disconcerting to have a knock at the door during the week and you're home alone, kind of. You know, we've all got these cameras and all that, but it would be kind of helpful to have advanced information about when that knock is going to come. And two, in terms of some of our neighbors who speak a different language and that type of thing, just making sure really that there isn't cultural bias, because as much as we know that training may happen, and thank you, Rich, for saying, you know, everyone should be treated fairly and all that. Unfortunately, there may be somebody who isn't as sensitive to the physically different, to the culturally different, to someone who has a different type of family. So that's just a big issue. You know, we could all pretend that that doesn't happen, but it only takes one for it to happen. So if you don't mind just having a frequently asked question and that being included and how that will be addressed in advance. And then, like Mayor Daffis said, perhaps what recourse could happen if things don't go quite so well. That was one just statement I wanted to make, since Mayor Daffis already addressed that. The other question that I have, if your home was assessed last time at a particular value and no renovations occurred since the last time, is there a chance that there could still be an increase in your taxes just because of that rate? So we're 70%. So you may not have had any improvements made in that 5-year time, but how would there be justification, you know, for the assessing value going up 200,000 just because the home across the street, you know, sold for 500,000 or something like that?
Yeah, so I mean that goes into, again, the data collection process and you know, studying the market. So again, not every house that is going to sell is going to be, you know, completely renovated. There's going to be homes that are just, you know, let's say good or average condition, and you know, if your home is good and average condition, they're the homes you we compare to. So yes, your home value may go up if if you don't do anything to it, because that's what the market is telling us. But again, we're not going to compare you strictly to homes that are completely renovated if you are not. Obviously, if your house is renovated, like some homes that sold, then that's going to be more what you're focused on being as far as comparable properties.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here we go. That works a little smoother. Monique.
Yes, hi, good evening.
How are you?
I joined the call late, so this may have been asked, and apologies if that's the case, but I'm just curious as to why the reassessment is happening now. I was told that these usually happen in 10-year intervals, so just curious why it's happening now.
Yeah, so you will be able to go back and view our slide that we did. It's be posted on the municipality's YouTube channel. But it's based off of the ratio, which is the average assessment compared to the average house that sells that the Division of Taxation does a study on. And once it hits a certain percentage, that's usually when a revaluation is ordered by the county.
Mm-hmm. My next question is about like current trends. So yes, the rate went down, and so everyone went crazy and wanted to buy a house and take advantage of this rate, and houses were assessing for crazy. How are we able to make sure that the taxes aren't going to be reflective of this big bubble that isn't really the real market value, the true market value, but more so the trendy market value?
Sure. Again, very good question. We touched on it earlier, but so the sales or the data that we use to determine these values, we're going to go from October 1st of 2022 all the way to October 1st of 2023. So we don't know what this year's, it's obviously, it's coming on February, obviously, but we don't know what the market's going to be this year. And someone asked a question, if there is, let's say not good data or there's not enough data, will the municipality get involved and going to the county and maybe asking for an extension on the process. So, I can tell you, we can't control the market. This revaluation was ordered, almost, a year or two ago. So no one could have predicted, this bubble or this market that we're in. But again, we don't know what 2023 is going to bring either yet. So it's all stuff that we'll be looking at analyzing. But keep in mind that everyone will still be assessed, on the same playing field, on the same level. So even if it is, maybe still of a higher market, but at least the municipality as a whole is all on that same level.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Got a few more here. Let's see.
And gentlemen, I think we're tapping this off at 9 p.m. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, that'll
we'll have a few more questions too, so we may even beat that 9 p.m. Cutoff.
Well, 9 p.m. is what we're shooting for, and we want to just let people know that there will be other opportunities. We will make this information available. We will make our individual contacts available for follow-up questions.
Yeah, and also just to reiterate too that this is going live to the Maplewood YouTube channel. I have gotten a few texts that some folks are watching it now, but it'll be there. You can click on the link and watch this at any point in time. And obviously reach out to us, please. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to get the next person over, Donna Bailey. All right, let's try Benjamin.
Right. So Tom, I think people need to know that in order to come over as a panelist to be heard and answer your question, you have to say yes to the prompt that asks you to move over. And that's the delay. Yeah.
That is a key important part of this.
So we say 2 hours later. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Sure. I just had a question. I thought I might have saw something on the new assessments being like revenue neutral, meaning that taxes for the whole town wouldn't necessarily go up. It would just get kind of redistributed depending on if your house was more valuable than the other. Does that mean taxes as a whole won't go up like across Maplewood, or does that mean like across Essex County? Because I guess one of my concerns were, if the town as a whole is more valuable now in Essex County than it was in the past, is it possible that there's like sort of a broad wide increase in property taxes for everybody, and not just sort of like a readjustment? So I just had a question on like the revenue neutral aspect of it.
This is entirely just a Maplewood function.
Okay.
And it's based on Maplewood's budget of how our taxes go to the tax rate, which will be revenue neutral, assuming that the budget for 2024 would stay the same or slightly increase, as typically is the fashion, but it will just fairly and equitably redistribute that burden across just Maplewood. It does, however, affect our apportionment to the county, because we will now be revalued at 100%. So that is actually going to help us in reference to what our burden is to the county, because Maplewood pays the county, and that's based on our total value, which is lower, and a ratio is applied to it. So now that we'll be at 100%, that actually will put us in a better spot as far as our obligation to Essex County itself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple more here, it looks like. Let's see here. Helen, if you can hear me and you see that I've requested you to come across, you got to just say yes, apparently.
Not yet. I still see her as attendee.
Oh, here we go.
Here she comes.
Helen, can you hear us?
Helen, we can see you, but you're muted.
Mute. Okay. All
There
right.
we go.
There you go. Welcome.
I just got the unmute button. Thank you. I wanted to ask about multiple dwelling buildings. For instance, are you going to be going into each apartment individually, or if it's a 2-bedroom, would they all be assessed at the same price?
Yeah, if you're referring to like a condo complex, yeah, typically we will still attempt to do an inspection on every single property, because again, we have to treat everyone the same. So an inspection will be made. I mean, the values should be close, but again, you do have that condition, factor.
As far as renovation and yes. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Looks like just a couple more.
Yeah, Tom, can we try Mr. Daniel?
Yeah, I got Anna across, and then we'll get to Daniel.
All right. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's my fault.
Just a quick question. Ironically, we moved out right as the last assessment was happening and bought our house that had been upgraded. And so our assessment was pretty much what we paid for it, close enough. And I guess my question is, when people buy their home here, is it not recorded at the market rate and adjusted at that point? Like anybody from, the last couple of years, their property assessment isn't recorded that way. Is that right?
It depends. Like you can't change someone's assessment just because they purchased the home. What sometimes happen, which may have happened in the case of your home, is that you purchased a property that somebody had improved. So because you bought it, and because of the way the permits probably closed, that it had come on and then was reassessed because of the work done. But in essence, just because someone bought a property does not mean it should be reassessed. It's only in a situation where something about the record has changed, whether it was improved more or maybe it was enlarged, or some facet of the property had changed.
Oh, okay. So it's strictly just when we do reassessments, do the assessment values change or whatnot?
For the most part, yes, especially in this case, in a revaluation, it's global, meaning that everybody will be affected, reassessed, re-examined.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I didn't realize.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, we're going to certainly get Daniel across this time. All right, Daniel, we're trying.
Daniel, please accept. Oh, here we go.
We're in business. You look like you're muted, Daniel.
Hi. Great. Is it possible to see the detailed assessments from previous revals for my property? And will the new evaluations be in a similar format and be evaluating the same aspects of the property?
The historical records of the reval, it's sort of an ever evolving record. So we don't have snapshots in time per se. It keeps evolving through, our most current record, which is the record you could certainly you could get a hold of now. You could get your record, and this reval will put that data, the new data, in the same format as what we have it is now. The system that we have, that it will be in that. So if you got a copy of your property record card today, and then when this process is over, you got a copy of your property record card at the end of the process, you could certainly have a point of comparison. But ultimately, this is like a clean slate, and they're going to be doing it with fresh eyes.
Okay. So the detailed records are available on the town website, or is that one of the bits of info that I would need to ask you for?
They're not. Typically, you would have to file an OPA request. But I mean, to be honest, if you're just trying to get your property, you can just call me and give it to you.
Oh,
Daniel's law does play a part in this. So there are, certain restrictions and legal guidelines that we have to follow. But absolutely, you can always get a copy of your own property record card.
And the law is called Daniel's Law?
Coincidentally.
Great. So I get to make it up as I go along, right? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All right, we got two more. Pillar, ground, and truth. Let's see. Do you hear us? Do you see us? There you coming across, I see. Okay. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, my question is to Rich, because you have asked a couple questions answered a couple questions regarding the commercial property, and we have a mixed use property. And I don't know if you can explain that, because I thought I heard you the first time when the first question was asked regarding condos and apartments.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second person came on and you mentioned income potential based, but then someone just, so I took my question, I took down my hand, but then someone just asked you the question in regards to the mixed property. How do you do that? If it's apartments, office, daycare, how do you
Value.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it depends on what the property is regarding, commercial properties, but for properties more, like its best use is income producing capability, where you can lease out something, something of that nature, or versus if it's just like a storefront, you have to look at square footage and comparable properties, and you get into
Okay.
to lease that and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so you will need access to each apartment.
Yes, for the most part, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, last question of the evening, it looks like. Donna, hopefully this works and we can get you over here. All right, Donna, if you see the question pop up there, answer, I think yes is the way to go. Aha.
Hello?
Ah, we've got you.
Finally. I was on YouTube and you guys aren't manning that app. So anyway, there's a few of us over there. So my question is, for the 23 years I've lived here, I live in a duplex, beautiful duplex, but it's undervalued. It's been, except for last year when I had it refi, and I really stuck up for myself when the appraiser was here. But why are duplex not valued? I guess I'm biased because I lived a good part of my life in Brooklyn, growing up in Brooklyn. And, I have fam bam in England, and, duplex are like, it's a house. It's still a single family. But for whatever reason, I know this to be true. Can you explain why they're not valued? I mean, like any other single family home?
Well, I mean, as far as, value goes, it's what the data tells us, right? We can't make up numbers on what something's more valuable or, least desirable. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Typically speaking, a, duplex might sell for less compared to, maybe a single family. But again, that's what the data tells us, and that's what we have to rely on.
But it's legally a single family.
It is a single family, but it does have a shared party wall, right? So
Yes.
so it wouldn't be fair to the duplex to compare it to a freestanding single family dwelling, because they're not the same. So in the best of both, or in the ideal situation, we would have a sales of one side or the other of a duplex, and that would be our best comparison. If we didn't have that data, we would have to use freestanding, but we'd have to adjust for it if that's what the market tells us. All of this would come from the market. We would extract what are those variables and how does it affect it.
Well, meaning the appraiser, he had a hard time getting the value. And when I Google my address, until, like I said, my recent evaluation, I always get the same response. They don't have enough data on the property to give it a value. That's Zillow, that's,
right. That
all
is,
of
I
them.
mean, that is the facts to some extent, but Maplewood does have a couple of neighborhoods that does have a lot of duplexes. And I know that we do have some sales data, so that'll be helpful for our point of view. In your specific instance, were they doing it for like refinance purposes or something of that nature?
Yes, it was a refi.
Right. And then, the guidelines are a little different because this is analyzing a bank's interest in a property, right? And that sort of thing. So it's a little bit different, an appraisal for finance purposes versus an appraisal, which is basically what we're doing, mass appraisal of all properties for taxation purposes.
So, okay, so
But we're going to try our best to compare apples to apples in this case.
Right, I get you. But in that case, which would be the higher value typically? Would it be the bank, or would it be with the town's evaluation?
Well, typically the bank comes in, 80% of what a true value is based on what the bank wants, the risk they want to take, right? And we're supposed to be true to 100% of true value. So in that essence, the assessment would come in higher than what the appraisal
The
for
bank.
refinance would be.
Okay.
But let me just say this too, and this is important to know. It's an opinion of value, right? The appraiser, if you have 3 different appraisers looking at the same property, they could all come up with a different opinion of value, and you could have 3 different values. But with our situation here, as we're doing it mass appraisal, we're gonna have the same eyes looking across, the residential properties and the commercial properties. So the ruler will be the same. The litmus will be the same, and that's how we're able to fairly and equitably redistribute assessments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank everybody for taking part of this. The turnout was great, really better than I had could have hoped for. Again, the YouTube channel will have this on it, and anybody can log into that with the link and watch it as many times as they would like to. But at least the slideshow will be there at the beginning of that, and we're also going to attach the slideshow to the finance section, reval section of our websites, and we'll tie into the professional property appraisals websites too. And this will, develop as we go along in this process. Rich, thank you very much for coming on board tonight.
Yep, my
Mayor
pleasure.
Jaffes, thank you very much for your insightful perspective. We appreciate that.
Of course.
And,
Thank you both, gentlemen, really. And thank you to all the residents who took the time. This was a good meeting, and we'll have more of these in the near future. There was one last question that came in the chat, which is, will we be making some sort of neighborhood by neighborhood schedule available to residents so they know where we are? And the answer to that, of course, is yes.
Absolutely.
We're nowhere near that yet. We're very early in the stages. But certainly we will be publishing that information. And as I stated earlier, we will be building capacity for greater interactive engagement with our residents so that you can get information about your property. You can, all of that stuff that we talked about for the past couple of hours. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody.